Commission. Thank you and welcome. Remotely, we have Walker Boyd, County Attorney, joining us. And, oh, hello, Laura. We even have a picture of Miss Laura Liswood, who is joining us as well remotely.
Yes.
So, thank you and welcome. So we wanted to kick off this morning with, I'm going to hit the agenda real quick and then we'll do the introductions themselves. So you got my lovely PowerPoint somewhere, I thought, but you have it in front of you. Okie doke. So agenda for today is also the same agenda we've got on your tabletops. We're going to do introductions, and I was going to give you a little bit more about the how and why we got here, our goals, resources, talk about electing a chair, and talking about scheduling some meetings. So, Shazam, there we go. That's where we were at on that. So, Walker, I don't know the adoption of the meeting agenda piece verbiage-wise. Would you go ahead?
Valerie, I'm sorry, but I'm having trouble hearing you all. The microphone is a bit choppy. I'm not sure whether this is just me or anyone else who's attending virtually, but
I'm having trouble too, Walker. This is Laura.
Okie doke. I'll try
Hey,
to
Laura.
speak more clearly. Then
Yeah,
go ahead.
if you
Yes.
speak directly into the mic, it works a little bit. I think it seems to work a little bit better.
Okay. Yes, thank you for the introduction piece. I'll start with myself. I'm Valerie Agahi Park. I'm the Human Resources and Risk Management Director here for Santa Fe County and your primary point of support for this committee. Take it away.
So I'm Cliff Reese. I know some of you a little bit, so I'll introduce myself also to those of you that don't know me. So I'm a retired state government attorney. I spent 23 of my 25 years in the executive branch as an attorney at the Department of Health and its predecessor, the Health and Environment Department. I retired in 2005 from the executive branch of state government, but I've been a miserable failure at retirement. The last 20 legislative sessions, I've worked in some capacity at the Roundhouse during the session, mostly with the state Senate. And this is my third county board. I've served on the board of voter registration, which is what it should be called. I just finished a 2-year term on the ethics board. And when this opened up, I was interested because I've spent the last probably about 3.5 years during the interim between legislative sessions as a volunteer doing a deep dive research into modernizing the New Mexico legislature, which of course includes salary, which for our legislatures, I'm sure you know, we're the last legislature in the country that does not pay a salary to our legislators. So I did quite a bit of research on that aspect and others. And part of the research was what do the counties do here and what do the city councils do here and what are ways to calculate legislative compensation. And so when I saw that this was being created and opened up, I thought I might be able to add that background to this process for the county.
Well, my name is Gus Martinez. I'm a former county assessor, served 2 terms, termed out in the end of 2022, and just gonna, I guess, use just my knowledge of just being in the office for 8 years and, you know, changed it dramatically with technology and just won several international awards for that office and just, you know, bring it to a level to where it's at today. And so, yeah, I'd love to put my ideas and things just, you know, regarding that type for the elected officials.
I'm Chris Grazer. I'm a non-retired state attorney. I'm also a former employee of the county attorney's office. I've served on a couple boards or appointed positions for the county, or somewhat of a county hanger-on, I guess you would say. and looking forward to solving this interesting problem.
Excellent, thanks. I'm Anna Hamilton. I'm an ex-county commissioner. I did serve 2 terms and finished December 31st at midnight, 2024. And I'm also an environmental scientist, which I'm still doing part-time. Though, just as a side point of interest, I worked for almost 2 decades. I work with the Tetra Tech Center for Ecological Sciences, and for the last 2 decades I've worked with EPA on climate change impacts on aquatic resources, which, yes, is not really being funded right now. So everything is changing. But I volunteered for this because, we clearly thought it was a good idea when it came up as a resolution to take it out of the hands of the people who are directly affected by it, which is a very uncomfortable and difficult and often very uninformed position to be in. And this gives the opportunity to do it on a more informed basis. So I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you. Ms. Liswood?
Yes, thank you. Apologies for not being able to be there in person, but I'm looking forward to helping as I can. I am an attorney, member of the California and Massachusetts bars, and I do have a master's in business administration also. I spent 16 years with Goldman Sachs and have been also involved with global level women's leadership. I was the former 4-year chair of the New Mexico State Personnel Board, and I'm recently also appointed to the Santa Fe Public Safety Committee because I'm also retired law enforcement. So I'm looking forward to working with everyone, learning, and hopefully helping Santa Fe be even better than it already is.
I'm not on the board, but I'm Walker Boyd. I'm the Santa Fe County Attorney, and I want to apologize for having to attend remotely due to an earlier commitment. But I'm excited about this, and I know that we're on a tight turnaround for getting some recommendations to the board. So we're going to be working. I'm going to be working hard and with as much energy as I can muster to help the board get this across the finish line in about the month or so that it has. I'm taking minutes, and so. Or I'm trying to keep some draft minutes here. So if there are motions or actions, please note someone note the name of the movement and any second, and if it's not a unanimous vote, let me know who's voting which way so that I can get the minutes down accurately. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate all of your willingness and interest in helping us solve this problem that former Commissioner Hamilton brought forward. Of where we were tasked with this was the resolution that was passed. Oh, sorry, we got to do the adoption of the meeting agenda. Walker, can you give me the verbiage, please, sir?
I'll make a motion to adopt today's agenda. That's Cliff making the motion.
I got you, Cliff. Thank you.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Gus.
All right, we don't have a chair yet, so is the vote unanimous?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right, we have an agenda.
Okay, yay. So then the next item on the agenda is the election of the chair and a vice chair.
I'll nominate myself for chair.
Oh, excellent. Anybody else want to do it?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous? We're happy.
So my first official act will be the election of a vice chair. Nominations are open for a vice chair. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not used to this. So I said my first official act will be the election of a vice chair. Does anyone wish to nominate or be nominated to be the vice chair of this commission?
Why do you keep looking at me? You have way more experience.
I would be happy to if you, do you want to do this?
I'll nominate Chris.
That's fine.
Or Anna.
That's fine.
Oh, well, then I'll second that.
Okay.
All right.
I mean, is
Yes.
that
That's
okay?
fine.
Good, great.
I do have some chair
Chris has
experience.
been nominated as the vice chair. Any other nominations? And Chris has been seconded by Commissioner Hanson.
I did it. I owe you lunch.
Oh, good. I knew I was going to come out of this ahead.
That's a private day.
So, take that off the record. Commissioner Hamilton.
I'm the shorter one.
She's not here. So we'll move to a vote. All in favor of Chris being the vice chair, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Chris is the vice chair. Next item of business is adoption of rules of order. Valerie, would you like to talk a little bit about what is typically the rules of order for an appointed board or commission?
And
I'll pass that one to Bob.
yeah, you could. Yeah, I'm happy to do that, and I think this may be superfluous because the BCC has a resolution that I think applies to appointed boards and committees, but I thought it would be a good just discussion point at least, and you all could take a formal vote on this. The resolution is 2009-02, and it essentially sets forth, practice with, chair authority and, rules for motions, other rules for parliamentary procedure. I would encourage you all to look it over, but I would recommend that you all consider and adopt that boilerplate resolution, which again, let me just check to make sure I've got the number right, is 2009-02. And I'm happy to email that to the group if you all would like to look it over. Maybe not now, but later at your convenience.
This is a resolution as opposed to an ordinance, and I'm assuming, Walker, that most
Correct,
of
resolution.
our business will be governed by resolutions and not ordinance for this commission.
Correct, Chair.
Well,
I don't think that the board has authority to act by way of ordinance. It would only issue resolutions, and really the resolution that I'm discussing just governs internal process for how to handle motions and other parliamentary procedures for a board.
And of course, this this commission could make recommendations to the Board of County Commissioners on possible ordinances as well as resolutions, but perhaps at some point in the future, I know you and I have had this discussion, because I'm a state government attorney, not local government attorney, what the legal distinction is between an ordinance and a resolution and when one is appropriate versus the other, but we'll get to that, I think, when we get to the recommendations stage of our work. I haven't seen this resolution, this 2009-02. I would appreciate a copy. I know I can always Google it after the meeting, but I think
I emailed it to you all just now.
for all of us to have. And I'm assuming, it's not Robert's Rules of Order, it's not Mason's Rules of Legislative Procedure, which the legislature uses, but it's probably some combination of both in streamlined fashion, I hope. Am I in the ballpark, Walker, on that in terms of what the rules are in terms of order of business? Are motions required? Are seconds required? Those kinds of basic procedural questions that all public bodies deal with.
Chair, yes, it essentially sets forth the requirements for meetings, that it kind of duplicates the open and condenses some of the requirements of the Open Meetings Act in terms of there needing to be an agenda. It has some other provisions that aren't really applicable to this board or this commission, dealing with ordinances and public hearings on ordinances. But it does have some meatier sections that deal with, how to handle administrative items, how motions are handled, what kinds of motions take precedence, that sort of, yes, really a kind of Cliff's Notes version of Robert's Rules of Order.
No pun intended, of course. So I have a sense of humor that I tend to interject into these meetings, but it is serious business, but we shouldn't lose our sense of humor.
Please.
Commissioner.
Just a very quick question. I assume what we're adopting allows for virtual attendance to count as a quorum?
That's my
Because
understanding.
BCC, the BDD, the BCC allows that, the BDD board did not. And
What's
so-
the BDD?
The Buckman Direct Diversion
Okay, thank you.
Board, sorry. So I just wanted to make sure that was allowed.
Chair and Commissioner Hamilton, the resolution doesn't specifically address virtual attendance, but the general Open Meetings Act resolution, which the Board of County Commissioners is set to adopt in December, will designate this board as an appointed county board and make it subject to the general Open Meetings Act resolution. And I believe that resolution permits virtual attendance by members of the commission.
Thank you.
Hearing no objection to Ms. Liswood participating virtually, we certainly welcome your participation and know you're staying up late to be with us, Ms. Liswood.
Yes, I am.
Thank you very much for being here. I'm sure you're someplace that I would like to be, but I also like to be in Santa Fe. So
I'd kind of like to be in the lodge that it looks like Walker's in.
ski season is coming, Chris. All right, so this is an action item to adopt the rules of order. Do I hear a motion and a second to adopt the
I'd move
rules
to
of order?
adopt that resolution 2009-2 as governing our rules of operation.
Okay, and is there a second?
Second.
Now, Walker, I know under the Open Meetings Act, there's supposed to be roll call votes, but since we're an advisory body, we're generally complying with the Open Meetings Act, although not through that resolution. Is it okay to do verbal votes?
Chair, I believe the roll call vote is only required under the Open Meetings Act to go into closed session. I do need to note the members voting, and how they vote on specific motions for purposes of minutes under the Open Meetings Act. But so long as those votes are unanimous, I think that the voice vote is fine.
Thank you very much.
Question?
Sure.
Point of order. In the commission, we were required to do roll call vote if there were any virtual participants, and that was to assure their effective participation.
By participants, do you mean other
Like
commissioners?
other commissioners.
Okay.
So if that doesn't apply, that's great, but I just wanted to point that out.
I appreciate that. I know there are various ways that voting can take place. There's electronic voting in the State House. There's stand up if you vote no in the State Senate, which I think is ridiculous, but nobody's asked me about that yet. But I just want to make sure that we're in compliance with whatever legal requirements there are. So we have a motion by Commissioner Hamilton to adopt the rules, the rules of order. We have a second by Chris, and I'll use first names if that's okay.
Please, I would appreciate it.
Okay, so let's go to a vote. All in favor of adopting the rules of order signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I'm sorry, Commissioner Liswood, was that an aye?
It was definitely an aye.
You're a little bit of a delay, so you raised your hand and I was asking for the no votes. Okay, so there's a unanimous vote to adopt the rules of order, and now it's time for me to be quiet and have Director Park do her presentation. She has a PowerPoint, which I'm guessing everyone has. Commissioner Liswood, did you get the PowerPoint that's about to be presented emailed to you, or are you just going to follow along with us?
I don't know if I did or not. Apologies. I'm in Paris. I'm not getting everything. So.
Okay. Very good.
So-
If you have any questions about what you're not seeing
Yeah.
or hearing, please feel free to jump in. Go ahead, Ms.
Thank
Park.
you so much.
We've gone through the agenda and the introductions. I on the why and how to talk about resolution 2024-174, which Commissioner Hamilton was part of the Board and Commission group that passed this on December 9th of 2024. In essence, it provided salary increases for certain elected officials, and the commission, the county commission at that time, instructed staff, so Walker and I and other staff, to bring forward in the 2025 calendar year a resolution or ordinance establishing a compensation commission to evaluate and establish or make recommendations regarding elected officials' pay. So that is our mission of why we are here and what we're trying to do. Here's the don't move, but it's okay. Moving on to the next one, which is not happening on the electronic version. So in Resolution 2024, it talks about in 2024, New Mexico voters approved a general election constitutional amendment, Article 4, referring to Section 10, Article 10, Section 4, transferring authority to set salaries for county officials from the state legislature to the local boards of county commissioners. So that's what's given us the authority to move forward with salaries. Salary increases are not to take effect until the first day of the term of an elected official, and that there are no term increases, midterm increases allowed. Our goal is to analyze the current pay for elected officials and make recommendations to the Board of County Commissioners as soon as practical, so that those people who will be considering to run for office will know what their compensation will be when and if they are elected. We have resources to assist you in this process, myself and County Attorney Boyd. We will give you, if you so choose, the current salaries of the elected officials, which is coming up on a slide shortly. We can gather salary data for all of the other Class A counties in the state of New Mexico, or whatever you guys need for support from us. We're leaving that to sort of how you want to think about this and formulate this, and compensation can be kind of difficult to, it's a challenge if you're actually in it and involved in it. It's a little easier when you get to have a little bit of distance to say, this is what's fair, this is what makes sense. I don't have a dog in the fight, so to speak. So that was kind of what we were trying to bring forward. I was looking to, I can skip a thing because we already did our chair. We can talk about scheduling meetings later, but on the last page, page 8, are the current salaries. So, there we go. The current salaries. So, in that December meeting, the salaries were increased for both the clerk and the treasurer, because those were coming into new terms. Those were the only ones, other than a couple of new, so we had the midterm commissioners we left at their current salary, and we had 2 newly elected commissioners who were starting their term, and their compensation was increased. The assessor's pay also was allowed to have the incentive pay added, so that changed their overall salary, but we did not touch the sheriff, the probate judge, or really look at whether or not those salary pieces for the other individuals were comparable. So that is kind of where we're at in terms of what we have on our plates before us. There's some debates, and I will talk some of the compensation philosophy of this. Some of these positions are more part-time positions than others. Probate judge, for example, is not typically considered a full-time job. The county commissioners, although you might argue with me, are not typically considered to be full-time jobs. So we have those types of pieces to consider. We also, and I'll refer to the way the sheriff is structured. The sheriff is over a collectively bargained group of people that form the base Then there's a middle band that is covered by the county's handbook and their structure, but we are often pushed by the way the collective bargaining group pushes up salaries. So there can be a compaction between what is negotiated in the collective bargaining and how we get to the sheriff. So there's some pieces that are a lot of moving parts for you guys to consider. That's not necessarily true so much in like the clerk or treasurer or assessor, in terms of the public safety collective bargaining really is a very, it's a very competitive field. We've had to really look at salaries to ensure we have sufficient numbers of sheriff's officers, so part of that was increasing salary, so then that puts more pressure on you guys to try to figure out what's gonna be the appropriate piece for salary. I don't know what other things I can sort of help you with in terms of formulating how you want to approach this. There's been some discussion as to whether or not some of the positions, clerk, treasurer, assessor, that sort of thing, should be comparable to county department heads. Similar potentially in structure, but slightly different requirements. They do have to, as Gus, you know, live here. I technically don't have to live here, even though I do down the street. So does, as a commissioner, Anna Hamilton had to live here in the city, I mean, the county of Santa Fe. That is a criteria that may play into how you want to look at this, or may not. We can get that data. That is something we can provide, is some of the cost of living. But there's a wide variety of cost of living in this county. So those are pieces that it's going to be your challenge to sort of, how do you want to balance that with what should be the appropriate compensation? I think Gus and Anna can speak to the fact that they're also not what you would call secure jobs. Those of you who work in other state government positions, often you have that position security. So there's that piece as well, that you're kind of walking the fine line between how you keep your constituents happy, but yet you're keeping county staff happy, that it can include collective bargaining, that can include non-collective bargaining, all within the same office. So there's a lot of pieces that go into this, and I'm happy to talk about it a little bit more if there's a question specifically. I don't want to just lecture you guys on compensation philosophy.
I think, well, thank you. I think we've got expertise around the table here. So I normally will go last in our discussions as chair, something I learned at the legislature. I have given some thought to this. I don't know, we've just been appointed for a week, and we can start talking about the process. We have 3 weeks to make our written recommendation to the board per the current resolution that we're operating under. We have to make it by, and we all should have a copy of the resolution, the most current resolution we're operating under, 2025-054. We have until December 1st of an odd-numbered year to make our recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners. They have until December 31st, to the end of the year, to decide whether they agree, disagree, adopt, modify, whatever. So we have 3 weeks. The good parts of being retired is I can put some time into this. I don't have an 8 to 5 minimum job to go back to with, God, whatever else may be piling up there, Chris, and I empathize with you because I didn't have to deal with voicemail and email when I retired from the executive branch. So I've given this some thought, and I'd be glad to start, but I also want to hear from all of you. We have 2 former electeds who lived under the system for 8 years. I have not. Chris and I, well, you have your experience with the county. I don't know if it was as an employee or appointed, but so we have 3 of you who have firsthand county experience, and my experience has been, as I said, on 2 previous boards, and then hearing these debates when I staffed the Senate Public Affairs Committee when this responsibility was on the legislature. Of course, that's the big change with the 2024 constitutional amendment that created that led to the creation of the current resolution was to devolve that power back to the Board of County Commissioners for these positions. And having heard those debates and how fiercely debated they were, and how much effort the legislators had to put into considering what many considered to be a local government affair that really was the county's business and not so much the legislature's business, but also knowing that local government is a creature of state law, and that's where the powers come from. So the legislature, in its wisdom or not, decided we're going to put this back into the counties. And there's pros and cons. We can talk about that. Because it was a constitutional amendment, the Legislative Counsel Service prepared a neutral pro and con, and I have that here if you want to hear what the pros and cons were, but I suspect, given the high quality of experience here around this table and with the staff, that I think you know what the pros and cons are. So I'd be glad to stop there and hear from the rest of you. I'd be glad to share a few thoughts that maybe will guide the conversation. I'm totally open to that. And Ms. Lizwood, jump in if you'd like to.
Yeah,
just
thank you.
interrupt
Thank you,
me or
Chair.
anybody else because we don't have raised hands here.
Thank you.
Would you like to start?
Yeah. Yes, thank you, Chair.
Great.
So while being the chair of the State Personnel Board, we were consistently looking at pay bands and salary levels, et cetera. So one question I have is, do we look at comparable? Now, at the state positions, we were looking at 5 state equivalencies. I don't know what we might want to think about for a county level, but to me, it would be helpful to know what other comparable positions do pay. And again, I don't know what the catchment area would be. For the State Personnel Board, it was the 5 abutting states that we looked at.
And could I make a suggestion here, a response? Because I appreciate that. I used to appear before the hearing officer of the State Personnel Board when I was an attorney
Yes.
at a very large state agency on disciplinary matters. So I know the role that you played there, and I actually went to some of those meetings. My thought was this. The legislature has created classes of counties, and Santa Fe County is one of 5 Class A counties, the 5 largest counties. And I haven't been keeping up to date with that. It's Bernalillo County, Sandoval County, Doña Ana County, San Juan County, and of course, Santa Fe County. So in terms of comparability, Ms. Elizabeth, I think you're right. I think we should compare these salaries to the Class A counties, since they are the most comparable comparison. I see this, as I looked at this, and there are 2 previous resolutions which you may have voted on, Commissioner, in 2024-174, and then it was repealed, the 2018-52. So there's been a lot of thought, clearly, from the county commissioners on how to do this. And the law keeps changing. That's why we need lawyers like Chris and myself to keep explaining the change to our clients. I think it would help us if we divided this in 2, bifurcated is the legal term, that we look at the county commissioners as one group, and we look at the other elected officials as another group, because of as you already pointed out, Commissioner, one of the big differences is the county commissioners are supposedly part-time, as is the probate judge. So I hadn't really thought about that, but that certainly explains why the probate judge's salary is about half of what the full-time elected officials are. And I think that would help us because I think there are different considerations for these 2 groups. So I'd love to have some discussion on that if you think that's a good way to proceed.
I would probably say that, and you can try and do it that way, but I think the sheriff probably has the biggest responsibility. So to group them in the same manner as the assessor, the treasurer, and the clerk. I think, I have a lot of different thought processes. Like I said, I think the sheriff definitely has the biggest responsibility. and staff turnover and all the moving parts that are in there, right? Then you would probably jump down to the other electeds. I did a class study when I was in there of elected officials, and I pulled data from all over the country to see kind of comparison of where they were at. So I pulled a bunch of data out at that time, and I looked at it and see what we were compared to with just the assessor. I didn't pull clerks or anything like that. At the time, we were probably underpaid, I guess, at the time, at that point. But then I look at, I look at other things as performance-based too, right? I mean, how do you keep long-term sustainability within an office, within, the assessor, the treasurer, these elected officials have something, they need something to, I feel, something to strive for, right? So if you put performance-based as part of the salary package, these are just ideas that, they can strive for within their portion of the sheriff has probably things that they could, things that they can achieve or go for, the assessor, the treasurer, the clerk, and put it as part of an incentive to move it forward, right? Because what's the incentive for an elected official that goes in there that knows nothing about the elected office? Because that happens, right? And my thing is, how do you keep the sustainability would be having those incentives to say, hey, well, I want my salary to be possibly to be here. Well, if I can obtain this, and this, I can be here, right? And the office continues to move forward on the basis of performance-based, rather than say, here's your salary. As an assessor, I wanted to do a good job, so I was there every day. But typically, assessor or treasurer or clerk or any elected official only has to be there one day a month.
Legally, technically.
Right? So, it doesn't really fall in, you could take time whenever you want, right? You can leave. So if you had a second guy in charge of you want to make sure that person is very knowledgeable about the office so that you can come and go as you please. I think also you could possibly have another job doing something else and being able just to check in at that. Technically, with that being there, right? And so
Governmental Conduct Act.
Yeah,
Something to say about that.
but it's my thought process is, how do we move the county forward in that process of always achieving a higher level and being up there would be performance based in a portion, to strive for something, right? That's the way I look. I was in there. I didn't get paid very much for what I did, but I took pride in it. And I did look at other offices around the country. I think what's unique for the assessor is that there's a big umbrella of elected officials all over the country that belong to IAAO, International Association of Assessing Officers, which there's a lot of technical support and help and achievements that you can strive for, that you're recognized around the country if you work hard enough and you're able to obtain those. But it's just an idea of things that to consider or to look at, of how do we continue to strive and allow the Santa Fe County these electeds and everybody to continue to raise the bar every time, instead of trying to get somebody in here that knows nothing about the elected office, is in there and doesn't have a clue how to run it, because it could happen.
Sure.
Right? But
I just wanted to clarify. I wasn't really talking about amounts of salary.
know,
at
that's
this
what I
point.
was gonna
I'm really trying to
clarify.
kind of come up with a way that we can do this systematic review, I think, of each position. And there are amounts. I learned about this in this New Mexican article last February about how much people are paid. Have you seen this? Including county commissioners and city officials. And
Only within New Mexico or beyond?
This is just Santa Fe City and Santa Fe County. And maybe we start making a list, if you will, or Walker, and then I get to you, Commissioner.
No worries.
I would like to see, I've made a couple of notes here, and you brought it up, Gus. It's okay if I?
Yes.
Should we use first names here?
Please.
Very good. Okay, I'm fine with Cliff. I would like to see a grid of the 5 Class A counties, each of the positions, the commissioners, and then we've got treasurer, assessor, which Gus talked about, the sheriff, the county clerk, the probate judge. And in my research, I learned that the surveyor was taken out of this mix in 2011 by the legislature. If you're wondering why we're not doing the salary for the surveyors, because of the professional nature of being a surveyor, that was taken out of the political realm, if you will, and put into the, I guess you call it the classified realm. I would love to see a grid that would have each of these positions split out by the elected and the elected full-time positions, I'm going to call them, although it's interesting when you talk about how much time an elected may spend on the job, and the commissioners, and then their current salaries for each of those positions by county, so that we can do a comparison. And I guess, and Val, you can help me with this, that each of those counties are looking at a similar process to what we're looking at to comply with the 2024 constitutional amendment based on Senate Joint Resolution 16 of 2024. It's very short, but it basically says the county commissioners will determine these salaries and kicked the ball back here. So that was one thing. There are a lot of, not a lot, but there are several statutory applicable statutes, because there are special rules for the assessor. There are constitutional provision. There's a constitutional provision that says that commissioners who vote for this, I assume it'll happen before December 31st, will not get an increase. If in fact our recommendation is they get an increase and it's adopted, they have to wait until their next term to be eligible for it, which is why we have different amounts for commissioners, county commissioners. And we have one term-limited county commissioner, Commissioner Hughes, who was reelected. And so that's why there's a difference. When you look actually at the bottom, you'll see that there's a difference in how much they're currently getting. And I want to make sure that's up to date.
Right. Well, there's partly a difference because it's always been, no matter who decides it, it's been for quite a while that the salary increase only takes place when you start a new term. And commissioners are staggered. So that's
the New
always
Mexico Constitution, Article 4,
And
Section
you're correct, because
27.
it was like, once you got your salary, even if it was they wouldn't change your salary until you would finish out the term, and then you would run. So it was never done right in the middle.
Yeah, that's required by the New Mexico Constitution. So, yeah, that's the way it has to be.
There's some other information though that I think is valuable. I mean, one was mentioned, and that's the assumption of time commitment. And I really think that's something that we could discuss. And if there's a way, I don't know how we would get this information except for by interview, essentially. And I don't know if between Valerie and Sarah there were some, but for the counties, for any comparables we're looking at, it would be good to look at that for the commissioners. Are you assuming half-time? And how realistic is that? Because I think that's something that would be discussed. It would be the same for the probate judge. For the counties where we're looking at comparables, I would like to see a separate table that describes physical size of the county, the number of commissioners that are there, the population size, and the budget, the annual budget for the most recent year. And I don't care, average, whatever, well, you know, we can do a geometric rolling average over the last 3.79 years or something. That was a biology science joke. And then I would like to see, maybe for the other counties as well, but at least for Santa Fe County, the salaries of department heads. That is, And for the elected officials that are running offices, I'd like to see the summary of that office structure, number of personnel, and the salary structure, like of their deputy and their senior people. I mean, not person by person, not by name, but just, and the size budget they manage. And I guess that's most of it. That means we should also see, if we're going to see it for the Cumberland counties, what the size of Santa Fe County is and what our budget is and whatnot. And for the, like, county commissioners are assumed to be half-time, so we can discuss that and how that weighs in. But by the salary level that's given, all the other electeds are assumed to be full-time. Are there regulations that they're not allowed, that this is a full-time job and they're not allowed to work outside of their elected office?
And on that point, do the electeds, other than the county commissioners, do they earn annual leave, sick leave, like any other employee?
Right.
Based on
That's a good point. I haven't
whether,
actually.
whether they actually
Right,
show up for the job.
right.
Yeah, they don't get, I mean.
Did you
annual-
get any of it?
No, I take off when I needed to take off, and, but you don't accrue any, once you become an elected official, all that time goes away, they pay for it, and then you move forward, and then you have no time, it's just, you come and go, when needed, or sick, or
Okay,
whatever
that's
like
good
that,
to
so, that's useful.
So those kinds of assumptions, I just think it would be, and then I wanted to throw it out to the group, is it worth getting some information for states, for outside, besides the 5 Class A counties? I mean, I kind of pushed when the county did their, you see, I only have to be gone less than a year. The class and comp study for the county. Well, the comparables are very strictly, the other Class A counties in Santa Fe County. Well, no, not necessarily. Like people who have expertise in utilities, they're a water engineer. Some of the comparables are what they're offered outside. It's the same for attorneys. It's the same for people, certain job classifications in the treasurer's office and the assessor's office. So I just wonder if there are counties in other southwestern states or random, or you might have, I don't have suggestions to bring to this, so it is not a loaded question, but I wonder if we're trying to see how Santa Fe stands in general, to look a little more nationally or a little more broadly, even if it's based on averages, that might behoove us. And the National Association of Counties might actually have data like that, averaged across all counties.
I can tell you who has some of that data as part of my research, and I'd be glad to.
Well, that would be, I think that might be very useful.
But I think you have a good point. I think to go to cities and counties that are similar to Santa Fe in mountainous areas, how many, 90,000 people or 100 and some thousand people, the type of homes that are here, high-end type homes there, the same demographics that are around here. I think it would tell a story of basically where we're at with these other competing counties and cities across the country, and I don't think that they're very hard to find. And you don't have to reinvent the wheel. I mean, especially if they're doing a good job and everything. I mean, it may tell the story of what we need to do,
And if there's an index of cost of living, if someplace, and if you've already done the research, and this might be moot to
I'll tell you what I have.
But if the National Association of Counties have those kinds of data, and then you can tabulate it with, well, yeah, we know for New York, but here's the difference in the cost of living, and that's a consideration. And we give us information to work with.
So what is a Class A county is defined in statute, and that hasn't changed. It's section 4-44-1, and it's based, not that I'm an expert in this area, you are, Gus, it's based on the valuation of the property. It's not based on population or income or any of that. And that's how the 5 Class A counties were determined. There's also Class B counties, and then there's one county that's a Class H county that now State Representative Christine Chandler taught me at the Roundhouse, which of course is Los Alamos. It is a special county all by itself. So I assume the legislature did that kind of review to determine which are the 5 Class A counties. So there are similarities there. What I discovered looking at the New Mexico legislature and a recommendation is something that's actually an organization, entity that's been in the news recently, the Federal Department of Labor, Bureau of Labor Statistics. And you may recall that the woman who headed that bureau was recently fired by the president because he didn't like her statistics, actually has done state-by-state surveys of average salary by occupations. And the last time it was done was, and I have it here, May of 2023. Much to my amazement, there's actually a category for something called legislators. And the Federal Bureau of Labor Statistics says, I don't know who they are, said there's 190 people who fit their definition of legislator. Now that may include the 112 legislators in the legislature who get 0 salary, but I assume it would also include all the county commissioners, all the city councilors, anyone who makes law at whatever level of government in New Mexico that earns a salary. So they have an average salary, which I'd be glad to share with you. And when I talk individually to legislators who are interested in getting a part-time salary for their work so they can serve, I ask them, does this amount work for you? And the amount is $52,200 as the average salary for these 190 legislators in New Mexico, whoever they are. And I can't tell you who they are, I can only guess. That's more, of course, than what county commissioners are getting now. I don't know how much the Santa Fe city councilors earn. Of course, we know the mayor has gone full-time. That would be more like a county commissioner, I suppose. I think it's about $100,000 for Mayor Weber. But we can check that.
No.
It's like 160 or something.
Was it
It's a
more?
lot higher.
Was it higher? Okay. Well, I don't live in the city, so, and when I talk to legislators, of course, who earn 0, they only get per diem and mileage, which is also based on a federal agency. It's based on the IRS rate for the city of Santa Fe, no matter where they are. This is in the Constitution of New Mexico. It was adopted in 1995. It's Article 4, Section 10 of compensation. It says, and no other compensation. Now, that doesn't stop legislators from having been able to legislate pensions, for instance, and a health plan. And that has been determined by the New Mexico Supreme Court in 1995. I can give you the case as not to be compensation. It's like a fringe benefit. It's not salary. And that's fine.
I mean, certainly Santa Fe County Commissioners
Do they get?
health care. And
They're
Valerie
eligible.
should be able to.
They're eligible
We
to-
didn't get paid days off because we didn't have paid days on. I mean, it was compensation for the work. And so,
That's good to know.
I personally would say I worked a lot more than half-time.
Yeah.
But that's not really relevant. When I asked for those data, I was like, does everybody assume it's half-time? Just like, would you be assuming that state legislators work nominally half-time? Because it gives a basis for comparison or for sort of assessment of what 52,000 means. Is that like 104,000 annual salary of, at a level,
So what I'm thinking as you're describing it in more detail is, unless you're getting paid by the hour, you're in a position as an elected to set your hours. And you get the job done or you don't. And of course, the ultimate discipline is you don't get reelected if you never show up.
Yeah, and just to follow up on an earlier point, the sheriff doesn't get to do that.
Well, that's a different, and I also want to be clear that I'm not talking now
I mean,
that everyone should get paid the same.
Our sheriff has never done that.
I think there is ample justification that each salary should be different for each position. I'm not suggesting everybody gets X 100,000 or whatever. We'll get to that. So I think that would be useful, Valerie, if you have that. I understand you have a consultant contract consultant who maybe either has done some of this analysis or could do some of this analysis. As you know, and we'll get to this when we talk about our plan, we're on a very tight time schedule here to at least make a recommendation. And the recommendation, frankly, one of the options, I'll just jump to that, could be status quo. We haven't had enough time to really make an informed recommendation. So we recommend this status quo at least for, and it's actually 2 years, because we make a recommendation every odd numbered year is what the resolution says, by December 1st. So that would mean whatever has been approved would go into effect, and we would just hold there. If that is satisfactory to us, at least as a recommendation, of course, the commission will decide. Chris, do you want to add your thoughts to this?
Yeah, I have some questions. So we've covered a lot of this, but these are the questions that came to mind. This is a bit of a wish list, so Valerie, please let me know if any of this is asking too much of you and your staff, and we can figure out a way to pare it back. And please don't read much of anything into these inquiries. These are just data points to came to me. So current salaries of elected officials, you've given us that. The salaries of the typically chief deputies, but the highest paid employees, the couple highest paid employees in each of those departments or offices, the salaries of the couple lowest paid full-time employees in those offices. So I appreciate the focus on Class A counties. I would, as data, want to know what the other counties are paying their elected officials as well.
I would too.
Particularly the Class H county.
It's actually, yeah, it's part-time.
Yeah,
Most of those
I think they don't
positions
get, I
It's
know
not
that
high.
The assessor doesn't get paid anything.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I don't know about the commission or anything like that.
And, and apropos of our discussion, I think you and I know some stories about assessors who employees in the office had never met.
Oh my
or
gosh.
lived in Florida or whatever.
This is pre-pandemic too, of course, before virtual working.
So I would, and you mentioned this, Anna, I'd be very interested in an informal survey of the current elected officials as to what they see the time commitment directly related to the requirements of the duties of the office, not campaigning or that sort of thing. And Gus and Anna, you can certainly speak to that, and I think you both have. But I'd be just interested to hear what the current elected officials have to say about that. So salaries of peers in comparable regional counties and cities. And there obviously needs to be some sort of selection criteria. I'm thinking like 10 similarly sized, as you were talking about, similarly situated, similar demographic cities or counties, and what do they pay their elected officials? Do we have budgeting concerns? If we say these people all deserve $500,000 a year, I'm assuming the commission's not going to accept that. Is there any budget guideline, or is it simply we make a recommendation and they accept it or don't?
And actually, that's one of the things I was going to add, Chris, see if you can agree with this coming from the state. What's the fiscal impact of whatever recommendation we make? Because obviously, there's no unlimited budgets anywhere unless you work for the federal government.
Right. And then the question that was asked, again, of department heads, how much do county department heads get paid? I know what one gets paid because we share a tax return, but other than that, I don't know. And the city mayoral salary commission, if we could contact them and find what data they relied on for setting that salary, I think that might be helpful. I have a question as to how the assessor's performance bonus is calculated. Gus, I very much appreciate what you were talking about kind of goals and incentives and such. I suspect that we don't have enough time to sort that out this time, and maybe it's a thing to be thinking about for the next 2 years, or maybe it's a different commission. I guess I don't know the answer to that. You know, if like the sheriff gets paid a lot more because they arrest a bunch more people, I'm not sure if that's what we want to encourage, right? If the assessor gets paid more because they just jack everyone's taxes up, I don't know if that's what we want to encourage. So there has to be specific metrics, right?
So I guess the thing I was looking at is how I approached it when I was elected. How could I become a model office in the state of New Mexico, right? So my philosophy was, let me go look at a couple of offices, a few offices around the country. I didn't want to reinvent the wheel. I wanted to see what they were doing good. How could I adjust a bit to over here? And I gathered a lot of information. And then, you know, I plugged away and I did what I needed to do. I think another key thing I think for elected offices, and I think this is very important, is that before an elected official goes to one of those offices there, I believe that they should do some sort of, somebody to come in and look at the office and the state of the office when they take it over, right? Because if you know what's wrong with that office, then you have a guideline to what needs to be fixed. So you're not just going to the office every day and like, I got to do property, assessments. No, there's key indicators in there that I need to fix so that it runs like a well-oiled machine, right? And I will tell you, when I went in, I did that. I did an evaluation of the office. Some people came in, a third party, they looked at it and they said, okay, Gus, these are your deficient in this, and this. And I said, okay, thank you. Now I know where I'm at. And so I was able to plug in those areas there to be able to get it to a model office. On top of that, you have the state of New Mexico Property Tax Division doing evaluations on all counties, right, of the assessor's office, seeing where they're deficient in, right? Because you get some assessors that don't want to deal with the county commission. They think, I'm the elected official, I can do whatever I want, you're not going to tell me what to do. And that's where you hit the wall here, and there's no movement of getting better. So it's like, how do you get these offices to get incentive to strive to make it better than when they took it over, right?
Yeah.
And so those are things that I feel like it's important, because if you don't have a guideline, you don't have those, then you're just going to show up. And if you have no incentive or you don't have no ambition and you just want to be an elected official, well, then you know what? It's not going to get any better by the time you leave. And then you're going to get staff and that they're going to be upset because there's just the morale and all that. So you have to have some sort of incentive or some sort of knowing what you need, how to fix that office. Because at the end of the day, who benefits? The taxpayer out there benefits for a well-run office.
Yeah.
Right? And engaged with the public.
No, totally. And I think you said that really well, Gus. I mean, so my thinking is that we spend the next 2 years trying to figure out what the key performance indicators are, what the sources of those indicators are, and what existing sources of valuation. Like, you know, and I know assessors have their issues with property tax division's evaluation, and we wouldn't put all of our eggs in that basket. But I think it's a good data point for us, right? And that kind of thing may exist for other elected officials too. And I think we could have an opportunity to be really innovative in how we schedule, you know, in how we structure that salary. I just don't think we can do it in the next 3 weeks.
I agree.
And Gus, I think it's a great point when you talk about somebody coming in, taking a snapshot of what is happening in that office coming in. And I think of my experience with transition teams for governor-elects and lieutenant governor-elects. It's a snapshot, and it's usually outside volunteers who are appointed who come in and spend a week or whatever talking confidentially to the staff to get the real lowdown on what's going on. They may say it's great, they may say it's terrible, but that could be part of what you're talking
totally,
about.
like staff surveys on entry into office.
Right. And we don't have time to do that in the next 2
No,
years.
but I
It could be a recommendation.
I think it's a good discussion to have.
And the answer to your question about the additional compensation for assessors, I was just looking at the statute this
Sorry, the
morning.
additional what of the assessors?
Additional compensation.
Oh, compensation.
So there's a statute that's for the audience, it's 4-39 what is it at the top there, Chris?
4-39-4.
Is what we're looking at. And it's based basically on the credentials of the assessor, depending on how.
So
how
that's
many
what this, the base rate plus the incentive, that incentive is if you have certain credentials, you get higher.
If you're a certified appraiser and you've gotten those classes the 4 classes that you can get the pay as an appraiser, right? As a certified appraiser.
That's great. I didn't actually remember that. But I mean, I have another basic question, like, why the clerk and the treasurer make so much more money than the sheriff and the assessor? So, like, that was one of the things I was thinking about when I was thinking about what other information I would want. You know, that was kind of why I said, well, how much staff do they have? What budget do they manage? You know, like, what's their office budget? And what are some of the salary structure, although you asked for the top few and the bottom few, and that probably covers it. Like, that would, if you do that plus, like, how many people they actually are in their office total, like what they have to manage, it gives you an idea of what they have to know. But I want to have a more discussion with you guys about, like, once we get that information, maybe it'll be informative, but I just get a feeling there's something disjointed between the sheriff and the assessor and then the clerk and the treasurer that I don't understand. Because as far as I know, there are no published technical requirements for the clerk and the treasurer. Like, God help us if we got somebody as a clerk and a treasurer who don't know anything, but...
And there's no requirements for the sheriff. I had actually worked on this with
that's a
Senator
good point,
Padilla
too.
when I was
Yeah.
his legislative analyst.
And we have had that
It meant
problem in
changing the
past decades.
Mexico Constitution and the statute. There are no, well, and that didn't pass.
And
No
I'm-
qualifications for sheriff.
I made incredibly good impressions, and I say this totally sarcastically, one of my first meeting as a county commissioner, when I, you know, in an executive session, because there was apropos to what we were talking about. I said, you know, to get a professional job, you have to have certain qualifications. Like, for me to get hired, you know, as a senior level project manager, environmental scientist, blah, 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 I have a resume that documents what those are. I didn't have to know anything in particular to get elected. I just had to get elected. And so it puts a burden, if you have an ethical approach to this, to learn what you have to know to be a county commissioner. But of course, that becomes very specific for a clerk, a treasurer, an assessor. So anyway.
Well, that's called campaigning, right? So,
it
Ms.
is-
Hamilton, what are your qualifications for this job? Well, I have a GED. That may not get you as many
I have
votes as
really
Chris
good
saying I have a law degree.
What are the typical pitches? I have really good intentions. I'm transparent and ethical. I'm a really nice person.
No, you
Nobody
have.
has-
Everybody knows my dad. It could be anything, right?
Exactly. So anyway,
I hear
no,
you.
I'm not cynical about the process, but I mean, it's just so interesting to Gus, to hear you talk about, you know, doing based on performance. But the thing that, you know, if somebody comes into office and they're not doing a good job, they'll get voted out. Well, we already know that doesn't work. So at least it does not work reliably. But
If there's no
be that as it
incumbent,
may.
if there's no incumbent.
And with these jobs, there's only one opportunity to do that anyway, right? There's just that one reelection.
And so, which is a good thing, but it is, anyway.
And then I also, you got to take into play their support staff, right? So, I mean, my thing is,
And how
you have a deputy, or you have, you know, how it's structured, because I structured the whole office the way it is. I mean, I know they probably made some changes, but it was structured to the point of being able to get long-term sustainability and get the best people in those positions to help the office succeed.
How many
right?
full-time equivalents did you have in your office?
there was like 42, maybe 43, I think, at
So
the
this
time.
is important, obviously. How many
But also,
FTEs?
Gus, you were coming in as a long-term employee of the office, right? You knew how that place worked.
Yes.
And that's not always
Changes.
true.
And yeah, exactly, and that's where that's why I'm saying this stuff is important. If you don't do this, an office can go south in 8 years or in 4 years. So that's why you have to have these parameters, and we're just not giving here, this is salary, here you go, and you have no understanding of how the function and how it actually goes. I mean, it's important. I mean, even as a commissioner, it's important that you know, and because, I mean, you could attest to this. You're in there for 4 years, right? By the time you finish your 4 years, you're like, oh, okay, here's
Now
things
I
I get
get
it. And then the last 4 years, you're like, you're just hitting it, you're doing good. It's the same thing with the assessor and all that. Yeah, just like you're just like, whoa, like what am I doing? And then finally you get, as you get courage and as you understand the function, how things go, then things start fitting better. But if you don't get somebody that's engaged, it's gonna go south.
So, just 1 second, just in terms of procedure, I think we're still on your presentation. Now, have we moved to adoption of work plan?
know what you guys need
Yeah.
as resources,
Okay.
that's really what we're having this conversation.
So this is all part of still your, because I know we don't have forever, although we could probably talk about this for hours, but we have some other things we're going to
You
get
had
to.
more, because
Yeah,
we
no,
all
I
jumped
just have,
in.
I have
Go
one,
ahead.
I have one more question, and this is actually that I added to, and it's a request from Walker, really, is if you could take a look at 4-39-4 and any comparable statutory provisions applicable to the other elected officials, and let us know whether you see room in there for anything other than a straight salary, such as performance component to that salary like we've been discussing. I'll note that there's an AG opinion for what it's worth.
So, good points. I mean, the word that comes up for me in all of this is accountability. If you're a county commissioner and you only show up for the meetings and you don't do anything else versus I'm a county commissioner and I have an office and I'm there because I'm retired or I'm, the 3 R's for who can afford to serve in the legislature.
Rich, retired, and
Resourceful.
resourceful?
They're rich,
Oh.
retired, and resourceful. And I'm sure that kind of concept, well, at least here there is part-time salary for everybody that we're talking about, whether it's adequate or not is something that we'll, I'm sure, offer an opinion on. But there does need to be should someone, and should the chair of the county commission get a little extra for doing whatever administrative duties or maybe extra, maybe not. I'm not saying they should.
It rotates.
Yeah, I know it does. But, is there any, like Supreme Court justice gets a couple thousand more than the other associate
Doesn't
justice.
deserve it.
We're not talking about that.
That was a snarky comment. I withdraw.
No, it's
I
okay.
apologize.
Well, and I think that comes under my question to Walker, right? Is that something that could be done for the board chair?
Yeah.
Well, given that it seems like the county commission now has broad discretion to accept or not accept our recommendations, they put in an ordinance and the legislature says, you county commission, you decide. We're putting it in your lap. So
I could see if there was a lot more administrative stuff, there are pros and cons.
maybe
It
not.
might be deserved, but then it also becomes a real incentive to try to keep motivate people to try to stay in that position, which
I'm sorry.
makes it harder to rotate.
I'm thinking that there are
And some
times.
counties do that. Sometimes, we were one of the few commissions for 8 years that truly did rotate a lot.
Yeah. I'm thinking there are times when the chair speaks for the commission, maybe at the legislature. on a
Absolutely.
bill.
Absolutely.
And that's extra work than.
That's why I apologize for the
It's
snarky
it's
aspect of
okay.
it.
I've been known to do that, just not in public, Commissioner.
Yeah.
Or with the mic on. But can we move on? I know we could be here a long time because this is a great group of experienced people, and we will have these discussions. Unfortunately, the resolution set some time limits on our work. So that, I think, relates directly to the adoption of a work plan and meeting schedule for us. I assume that's for us for the remainder of 2025. And just to refresh memory, here it is. The most current resolution, 2025-054, that was adopted in the spring, in May of this year, says, where was it? Paragraph 12. Here's what we have to do. We have to conduct at least 2 public meetings. This is certainly one of them.
Is it? This was published, wasn't it?
After conducting at least 2 public meetings, the commission shall issue final recommended salaries for elected officials and county commissioners' positions. The final recommended salaries shall be issued on or before December 1st of an odd-numbered year. That's our 3-week deadline. And then on or before December 31st of each odd-numbered year, the board, the county commissioner, shall meet and consider the final recommended salaries. The board may adopt, modify, or reject the recommended salaries. A little humbling note there, but it's their prerogative. So those are our timeframes, and part of it is driven by the commission needs to decide by the end of the year. And somewhere here I have, Valerie, you probably have it memorized, the commission's last meeting.
Well,
there could be a
it's
special.
December 9th.
December 9th, but I assume there could be a.
Second Tuesday, because they usually don't have the last one. Are they having the last one?
We actually changed it this year, so we moved the meeting from Thanksgiving week to be the first week in December, and then added another meeting in December. So our final BCC meeting for 2025 will be held on December 15th.
13, okay.
That's the last regular meeting of the commission. As
Correct.
opposed to, there could be a
December
special
15th is a
meeting.
Monday.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay.
So Monday, December 15th is the last regular meeting.
So there could be, hypothetically, I'm not recommending this, a special meeting of the commission on December 31st, 2025.
If you'd like to call them in on New Year's Eve, you could
I
ask.
said I'm not recommending it, I'm raising a hypothetical, which we lawyers like.
Yes, technically,
Theoretically,
yes.
there could be a special meeting of the commission anytime before December 31st, even though the regular meeting is now December 15th.
So one question is, we haven't asked for hugely extensive data, but what kind of, can we get a read for how quickly we might be able to see that? Because this is Friday the 7th, so we have all of next week, the 10th through the 14th, for a meeting, and the following week, the 17th to the 21st. The week after that is Thanksgiving, so we could have the 24th to the 26th. I certainly don't want to meet on Thursday, because I'll be cooking. But I'm not traveling, but other people might be traveling also, or.
Do we want to jump to that, to our next meeting? We have to have at least 2. You need some time. I don't know
But how much? Can you
And
guess?
then does Friday afternoons, like today, work for everybody?
I feel like I'm going to want 2 more meetings because I'm
2
going
more.
to want to get the data at the next one and kind of consider it. I mean, I guess maybe not. Maybe if we get all the data independently of the meeting and then can be prepared to take action. But I feel like I want 2 more meetings.
Yeah, I mean, even if we get it emailed to us, which would be lovely, and we come prepared, we're really going to be discussing it, so I feel like you're probably right. I mean, I was thinking 2 meetings, that's pushing it, but I think you're right. 2 more meetings is probably what is realistic.
And we'd be in compliance with the resolution. So should we get out calendars?
That's the
If
only
we want to
reason
go,
I
if we want to
select
go
this.
to that, and then we'll come back to you.
We could work
for
it
how much
backwards, right?
Keep shoveling in that sense.
So,
I can get you a fair amount of data, probably pretty quickly, and then it's going to be finessing some of it. I mean, Class A counties are Class A counties. I can probably gather that relatively quickly and put that into a table. Then in terms of like digging a little deeper and getting FTEs, getting org charts, getting, directors and deputy directors, the highest and the lowest, those are going to be, to me, the
We don't need org
more
charts.
complex pieces and that are going to take more time. I can get you rougher and larger amounts of data like Class A's relatively quickly. That's going to be
But
something.
just the salaries. I
Right,
mean,
that's gonna be
and
a
it's
public-
based on the size of the
information.
county.
Exactly, and I can put it into a chart relatively quickly. It's then going to be finessing that data and saying, oh, I need this, or we don't, well, that's not as much as we thought was going to be.
Let me just get a final, and Laura, I haven't forgotten you, so we want to hear from you as well, especially on scheduling, when you're going to be back. There was a suggestion about other counties, other cities outside of New Mexico. How important is that to, I think you suggested, how important is that versus at least starting with the Class A counties?
I think it'll tell a story more than just looking at New Mexico Class A counties. I mean, I've done that before, and they're similar. I mean, everybody's similar. Usually the Class A counties typically go with each other. It's when you start going down the totem pole that some of the commissions and all that may not give them the salary, whatever, and so they're at different ranges. And so that's what have come across the years that I've been in there. But typically your Class A counties are typically all the same salary.
There actually, I think I was surprised once by what had to have been a Class B county and some of the salaries they paid. So
Too high or too low?
they were higher than I thought they would be by a lot. And I think if maybe we could pick at least like 3 or 4 other counties that are Class B, because maybe the property values aren't as high, but they're relatively populous and their budgets are at a certain, their total county budget is big enough that it's a serious job.
And I'm
All the
thinking
jobs are
like
serious
Valencia
jobs.
County, for instance, which
Yeah,
is
sure, yeah.
not a
You-
Class A, but it's
Yeah, if we
a
could,
bedroom community of Bernalillo County now, basically.
yeah. And you gave information that was,
It's Class A.
It'd be San Juan. I think San Juan would be.
San Juan is Class A.
Is it Class A?
Sandoval.
Class
Did they
A.
move up? Because they were B.
They are.
Sandoval's not a,
Yes.
so which,
Sandoval is
there's,
Class A. I have the statute here.
well, you did say that, so.
It's the most
Totally
current.
on Sandoval, but there's,
So
Well,
anyway,
it's
Yeah.
Bernalillo, Santa Fe, Doña Ana, San Juan, and Sandoval
I'm
are the
sorry.
5 Class A counties. I don't think that's changed.
Uh,
but- Yeah, Laura,
yeah, thank you.
Ben, we
Um,
haven't forgotten you.
Yeah, good. So,
Jealous that you're in Paris.
yeah, I know. So one question, and I don't think I want to discuss it, just as of raising it, is pay bands rather than specific salaries. And maybe you already talked about that. I got cut off for a few minutes. Second is, one of the reasons, at least in the state personnel board, where we looked at salaries, comparable salaries from other states, and again, not necessarily applicable here, but if there was a high vacancy rate within a particular department, we were very worried about people moving to higher pay levels out of state or within the state. It turned out that county bus drivers were getting paid more than state bus drivers. So there's a worry, particularly with someone like the sheriff, who potentially has mobile skills.
That's
You want to make sure that kind of some level of surrounding area that makes sense, that we have knowledge about it.
Yeah, good points. And maybe at some point, Laura, you could, because it's been a long time since I've been in the state executive branch, the concept of the pay bands and what the purpose of those are, whether that's applicable to what we're looking at here. Not quite sure, because this is,
We're not
usually it's
talking
people.
about we're not talking about the whole office. We're only talking about the individual
one.
leading each office, so,
First at the top, yeah. Is it comparable? I'm open to learning more about how the pay band concept would apply here as opposed to, I was in an office of general counsel with about 6 attorneys. I don't know how many attorneys you've got at the land office. Yeah, but so there are different people at different levels, entries, salaries. And it mattered, of course, when there's more than one person
Well,
doing it.
we've got some classified and some exempt, just for historical reasons.
Really?
Yeah.
It's not just the general
I mean,
counsel.
like
No.
the legacy,
I'm exempt, I'm not GC.
the accident of history type thing?
Yes,
legacy?
exactly.
Okay, interesting. Well, so could somebody maybe find out from the National Association of Counties, you got information, you gave us like an average for the state of New Mexico, 52,000, right?
Based on the Federal Bureau of Labor Statistics.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, it was based on
That's
a
right,
federal
that's right.
survey.
So the National Association of Counties has, I forgot what they're called, like the professional groups of commissioners, professional group of assessors, professional group of treasurers. I'm willing to bet, and I think Gus mentioned this, but I think we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We might be able to call the National Association of Counties and say, have you guys ever published data? And it may not be a single number. It could be a single number in a range maybe of
Yeah. And
what do assessors around the country make?
Would the job
County
title, would the
assessors.
job titles and the job duties be comparable
Yes.
to our?
So if there's a way of doing that, that
Is
would be
that-
really
is that doable?
helpful.
I hadn't thought about that. I was going to tell you another way to calculate
Sarah.
legislative salary that I learned. The state of Alabama, no comments, state of Alabama amended their constitution, which we're going to have to do in New Mexico to create state legislative salary because it's in the state constitution, that there's no other compensation besides per diem and mileage. To use the average median income for the state of Alabama. I don't know who calculates it. I assume they have a Department of Labor at the state level. It's another way to look at it if you want to use a metric that isn't based on, oh, I think you deserve this and I think you deserve that. It's based on, an objective standard, so to speak, that a neutral party has
Somebody just
determined.
recommended that, some big investor, professional, that's the way Congress should be compensated, that they get paid the median
Like I say,
value,
every
the median income of their
The
state.
median income
Oh,
in
their
Mexico is
state?
probably less than the probate judges getting paid right now.
And that's the problem, yes, I see the problem with that, I'm just,
So Alabama, last time I looked, and it increases with cost of living increase. And I think next year, the Alabama legislators are going to get like 66,000. But then it depends on, are you a part-time, are you a full-time? Just as you're talking about.
obviously, I would argue against that, like for commissioners, it would make perfect sense, but what you're doing as a commissioner probably doesn't change very much, whether you're representing the really wealthy side of the county or the really poor side of the county. And so to be paid the median income.
Arguably, you're doing more if you're representing the poor side,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. So I mean, I don't think
Or the
that's
size of your district.
useful.
Just a suggestion, that when you're pulling that information, you might pull parcel count of each county, because, so they're similar, and probably population, because it would probably match or close. So,
Be
the
correlated.
parcel count here is probably going probably over 90,000, 90-some thousand parcels. And that will correlate with the data of a county that you're looking at the same size with the demographics and stuff.
Sorry, I'm not familiar with parcel sizes.
Parcel count,
For
so
the
each
assessor's
county,
office?
so each county in New Mexico has a parcel count. And all over the country, right? Of how many parcels are getting taxed for property tax.
You're talking about land, a specific size of property, of land.
Yes.
Property, real property.
Yes, real property, commercial,
And it's a great point, but if that's hard to get, or the next level, getting the population of each county is probably, maybe not as good, but it's probably, if it's correlated, a good.
but the Association of
that-
Counties should have that. Parcel counts all over the
Oh,
country for
yeah.
each county that,
Doesn't it vary? I mean, I live very close to you. I'm a big half acre. When I lived out in the county, I was on 5 acres of a 40-acre range. So,
But no, Santa Fe County has X number of parcels.
right, but that's.
And it gives you a ballpark of how much the assessor has to do, like their level of effort for that job.
Just asking I'm trying to understand gathering the data so I present it back correctly.
Oh, I missed it
Something
then.
could be 40 acres and is one parcel, or half an acre.
So it.
Valerie,
parcel
could you please
is
speak into
an
the
account number
microphone?
That's
Sorry.
associated with that part of land, whether it's 5 acres, 10 acres, 1,000 acres, it's considered one parcel,
Thank you,
right?
that helps
Yeah.
me to kind of
Got
report
it.
it back more accurately.
That was.
And I just
And
got
Walter
my
just tried to
tax
say
bill
something.
from your successor, and it describes this, it's a small plot of land, it's basically the house in it. subdivision, but it calls it a parcel. Or a lot.
Mr. Chair, I think Walker tried to say something.
Walker, are you there?
Yeah, I was just friendly. It didn't sound so friendly, but I was making a friendly request that Valerie speak into the microphone. I was having trouble hearing what she was saying.
Okay, good point. Let me go back to our calendars. So does Friday afternoons work?
Well,
I'm available at 1 o'clock next Friday, assuming this room is available, or someplace, the 14th.
If I could make a suggestion that we
Sure.
work backwards a little bit, the 26th of November is the last day that we can meet.
26th of November,
It's
because
the
it's
day
the.
Wednesday.
Because 27th is Thanksgiving, 28th the county doesn't work, and by Monday, we're getting
We're
into
December
December
1st.
1st. Yeah.
So we need to have our recommendations. I mean, I'm willing to work that weekend. Is that a yes or a no on, is Friday the 14th
Right,
too
yeah,
late?
so-
Or you think it should be
so-
sooner, or
Right,
is that okay?
14th is fine with me.
I have something at 4 o'clock. You're all invited.
fine.
On Friday, I'm headed out of town.
Next Friday?
Yeah, unless we do it in the morning or something like
I
that.
could
I
do it
can
in the
do
morning.
Friday morning, I can do Thursday all afternoon.
I could do Friday morning, the 14th of
Yeah.
November. Laura, you gonna be back or available
Yeah,
virtually?
back. No, I'll be here. I'll be present.
Friday morning, November
Yeah, that's-
14th, Mountain Standard Time.
What time, Tim?
works best?
To me, I have to head out of town, so, the earlier the better.
You have a flight?
Well, I'm driving, so,
Tell us when.
yeah.
Tell us what works for you.
I don't want to make it, I mean.
6 a.m.'s too
No,
early.
no. I mean,
6
I
a.m.
get-
is fine with me.
Me
so-
too.
I mean,
I-
8 o'clock or 9 and 8:30, 9, whatever.
Eight is good,
8
do it
o'clock.
early
You
is good.
probably want
Well,
a little bit
Steph-
after 8, right, to get situated.
You would need to set up.
Yeah, we wouldn't, so next Friday, the 14th, there's a county canvassing board meeting, special BCC meeting in this room, at 10 o'clock, which does not mean that you couldn't meet elsewhere. I don't know that we need to have this meeting in chambers.
Yeah,
We could meet in that conference room
What
down-
about the fishbowl?
Okay.
Yeah, we could find,
So
and county
8:30.
staff comes in at 8.
8:30, November 14th, will be our second meeting of the, I love it, independent, I love that word. Not quite, but close, independent. We're appointed by the commission, we make recommendations.
I was
to
gonna
the
say, we're
commission.
independent, but we only make a recommendation.
Okay, 8:30, and do we want then, because assuming all of us are busy folks, even us retired folks, do we want to set the third meeting date now, just to reserve that date?
That would be ideal.
After November 14th, I like what you're talking about, Commissioner. Yeah, let's,
We want to just keep it on Fridays, because that would give us the 21st, and then that would still give us one more.
No, well, they would give us the 21st, and then if we really decided we needed to get together again quickly, we could, right?
then the
Yeah,
26th.
That makes some sense.
I'm free all day on Friday, November 21st.
So am I,
I'm
actually.
open to whatever works best for everybody else.
I'm
Laura, how are you
gonna have to
doing?
be
You got your
remote.
calendar there? Are you okay with these?
I'm fine.
Can you do it,
Yep.
or would you prefer like Thursday afternoon or something, or?
Walker, you're-
No,
That doesn't
Thursday I
change.
can't do.
Oh,
I can do the 21st, the later in the day, the better.
For Friday?
Yeah.
21st.
what time, Chris, what
Should be
time?
Um,
What works best for you? I'm free.
let's see, really anything after noon Texas time, so 11.
Texas time,
11
Central,
o'clock
Central.
here.
You're gonna do it virtually.
Yeah, I'm gonna be virtual.
So 1 o'clock Mountain would be 2 o'clock. Is that too late?
Nope, that's great.
1 o'clock Mountain Standard Time, Friday, November 21st. And then we'll have a tentative on the 26th.
And the next one was what, so Friday, okay.
Friday, November 21st,
Okay, Friday,
1 p.m. Mountain
p.m.
Standard Time.
Okay.
And then as
Friday.
a possible, if we need it, Chris suggests the 26th.
Well, I suggested that the 26th was the last day.
no, yeah, I was gonna say, honestly, is there a reason we couldn't do it Monday or Tuesday of that week?
The
Like Tuesday?
24th or 25th?
Correct, and it doesn't matter to me, I'm just saying,
Yeah, I mean, I would say maybe maybe if we set it Tuesday, because if we get together on the 21st and we can't make a decision yet, it's probably going to be because we want to do some more analysis or get more information. So
Well,
maybe we
you
should
know-
leave Monday for doing that and set the meeting Tuesday.
You're, Wednesday's fine.
We can-
You're
No,
right.
no, no,
When
Can
you
I-
say that, I'm fine with, if
Can
everybody
I-
can do it, I'm
Are we
fine with
back to
it.
the 21st, or are we looking
Can I
at the week of
interject?
the 24th?
The 24th, whether,
Yeah,
no,
for
we're-
which I'm seeing is just a contingent meeting at this point.
Can we-
Hopefully we don't need
I,
it.
Can I-
I have
can I-
a commitment
Can I
on
please
Tuesday, the
interject?
25th, from 10 to 11:30.
Mr. Chair, Walker is trying to
Walker.
say something.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Can I just recommend that, since you all are going to be meeting on the 21st, you could recess and reconvene that meeting for the next week, and we could just make sure that we get your final recommendations on that agenda for the 21st. And then if you don't have enough time that day, or if you need some additional information over the weekend, you can, reconvene at some point that next week. And then that way you don't have to, we don't have to.
Go ahead. I'm
you know,
looking at the
make a hard
most current
decision on that.
Resolution 2025-054, paragraph
Yeah.
12, it says, after conducting at least 2 public meetings. So this is the first one,
Right.
and then
Right, so
November
you'll have
14th
done-
would be
you'll have
the
done-
second one, and then
Right,
anything
and then
after
number 20
that is, I'm sorry, we're talking over each other.
Yeah.
I apologize. Go ahead.
No, it's,
Go ahead.
yeah, the 21st would be your third public meeting. And then I'm just saying that to the extent you need to continue to meet the next week because more information is required or more discussion is needed, you all can vote to recess and reconvene that second meeting. I'm just saying you don't need to decide now when and if you have that third day of meeting.
I'm just thinking, we've got 8 busy people here. I find it useful to reserve that time as at least tentative, rather than fill it with something else and then forgot that was tentative. So are we back for our, Monday?
If we do the, no, we don't want to do the 24th. So if
Okay.
you can't do the because Chris made a really good point.
Which
I'm fine with it, which was, there's no time between Friday afternoon and Thursday and Monday morning to get additional information.
Gotcha.
So if we do Wednesday,
The 26th?
it would be nice to do it kind of earlier
Yeah, that's
or
fine with me.
midday.
Wednesday, the 26th, of course, is the last workday of the week.
Yeah, I know.
Um,
Or
when we
Tuesday,
finish, we're
anytime.
done.
So,
Okay.
I'm fine with the 26th.
Are you good with Wednesday, the 26th? I'm free all day on the 26th. Are you going to be back, or?
Yep.
Okay, what time would
I'll
you
be
prefer
remote.
on
is that okay?
Wednesday, the 26th for our third?
Laura can't do it.
Yeah, Laura? Go ahead, Laura.
I'll just be remote.
You can do it remotely? All right,
Yes, I can.
it seems to be working. What time on Wednesday, the 26th? I'm totally open. You want to do another
I'm
8:30?
happy doing the morning again, yeah. That works for me.
8:30, let's make it 8. I'm a morning
here before I
person,
go to the
I
office.
like morning. Okay, 8:30 on Wednesday, November 26th. And is that a tentative? We're going to call that a tentative?
I was calling it a contingent.
Contingent, okay. Counselor, I won't argue with you. We'll send it to a mediator. Okay, so Wednesday, the 26th of November, 8:30. Location in this building to be determined, tentative or contingent. Our work plan. We're coming down to the end, folks. Oh, we still have another topic. We need 2 more people. We may.
You may, you can appoint 2 more people.
And how would we do that? Have them,
Find them first? I
then the
kind of
commission-
jokingly say it's very difficult to
commission
find you
doesn't,
all.
the commission doesn't have to approve them. We can just,
You can if you feel you
our
need.
brother-in-law, or,
I don't think we need it.
No, and I agree with Anna. I mean, I feel like everybody who was interested in being on this commission applied and has been appointed.
I think 5 is a good number. 7, I think 5 is a minimum. 3 doesn't work for me, but I'm not on the PRC.
And fabulously, there's a real diversity and a high level of expertise and, knowledge base. So I don't think we're leaving any big thing out by not, finding somebody to cover an area that we're not, I mean, maybe a month.
No, I mean, there's no guarantee that you would get someone as well qualified to be on this commission as the other four of you versus two more clowns like me on the commission, so.
We got enough attorneys, right?
That is true.
We got way too
That's-
many attorneys.
yeah.
So, the resolution does list community organization or a former elected official or county commissioner, retired attorney or judge. We've got me for a retired attorney. Human resources industry or employment consultant.
Yeah, Laura.
Okay, Laura.
We kind of,
High-level executive management experience. Well, you guys double up.
It's
And then.
Laura as well.
Sorry? Go ahead. Walker, did you say something?
Sorry, I was saying, I think Laura covers two bases there.
So
Right.
we can wear two hats?
yes.
Okay, especially if we're only going to have 5. Good. And then appointed at large, well, any of us could also fit that. I think we're good.
What do we have to include in a work plan?
Yes, that, I think probably before we adjourn, does staff need more direction for us? I think our work plan kind of speaks for itself in terms of what we've asked for. The comparability, and as I said, I'm going to be looking for accountability also. Because I think it's a great point. Somebody never shows up. Somebody shows up every day. Somebody shows up half-time, which may be okay, but good.
Could you guys clarify? I agree, but I'm also very used to thinking about that in terms of regular employment, not elected official, from that point of view. So as an elected official, other than ethics violations, what do you guys see as accountability in the way it would impact a salary recommendation? Not other actions.
I mean, I'll just jump in. I haven't given it a lot of thought, but I think if somebody, just hypothetically, if a county commissioner only showed up for the meetings, for the county commission meetings and voted, whether virtually or in person, to me, there's more to the job description, which of course doesn't exist, because usually those elected officials, like state legislators, city councilors, they do more than just show up and vote. And so, but let's say somebody hypothetically only shows up for the meetings. Their office is always closed.
Let's just assume somebody's not really,
They're not accountable
Doing a
to
good
their
job.
constituents. If they just show up, in my world view, if they just show up and vote and do nothing else, I mean, all of you were appointed also to these kinds of committees, right? To.
oh yeah, I
ex
mean,
officio.
if we want to go through the workload, I can discuss,
Yeah.
but what I'm asking
Yeah,
is not what makes a good or bad county commissioner. It's how would that impact a salary recommendation? Do you have a salary for a lousy commissioner and a good commissioner? Or if we're back to talking about like incentive pay that we could do in 2 years, but not in 2 weeks?
good questions. I
Yeah,
hear
that's
you.
all I
hear
was
you.
wondering, because it
Let's-
So
wasn't,
let me just ask you, my question now is, do we do the status quo, or do we say, I'm just thinking, or do we say, let's start down here, give us time to actually do it right, and then work out all the details? I don't know, I'm just, what,
I wouldn't recommend lowering anybody's salary at this point.
no, I'm not saying lowering it, I'm saying you have an elected office that they already set the salary at, right? For 2 elected offices. You have the other 2 elected offices that haven't received the pay, right? They got it in the middle, or I don't know if they got it in the middle or the first term, I don't know how that happened, I mean, what transpired or what. So I guess my question would be, if did that set precedence of what the salary is gonna be, because they already put it at two elected offices?
Are we talking about the clerk and the treasurer?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, because that's what you're gonna run into, or what do you do? I mean, obviously, it's whatever the data shows. What if the data shows that it's lower than that?
Yeah.
What are we gonna do?
Yeah.
No, well, that's exactly what I think we can discuss. But to me, that's straightforward enough to be the quote-unquote easy part. It was just the thing about like, performance pay or accountability that is outside of my grasp right now.
So he actually, and I'll get to you, Chris, he actually gave an example of if there was some way to measure accountability, and there's someone hypothetically who only shows up for the meetings, that would be a reason to decrease. I would say they haven't earned it. But my current position, and I'm open to consideration, is I'm not looking to decrease anybody. The question is, do we want status quo or do people deserve raises? That's where I'm coming from. Chris?
Yeah, and in response to both of your comments, as I'm sitting here, what I'm realizing is I want to be very wary of us interfering with the will of the electorate, right? Like, if someone just shows up for the meetings, they're still the people that the voters picked, right? And I mean, our job is to set salaries, but I think if we start getting into punitive or incentive or anything like that, I think we're getting a little bit close to, kind of interfering with that will of the voters. They get to pick whoever they want, and if they choose to pick someone who hasn't demonstrated that they'll be competent in the office, they haven't properly vetted them, they get to do that, right? Like, I've made stupid election choices before, and I've lived with it.
Whenever I hear the arguments for and against term limits, my personal position is we have term limits. It's called elections. If somebody does not perform their duties, and that becomes an issue in a campaign, that can be decided by the voters in the next election.
Although, as Anna
When
said,
they're on the ballot.
They don't, but.
I hear you.
They don't, but on the other hand, I think the idea of, yeah, I think that bigger question is outside of the purview of the salary.
Probably, but it's a philosophical issue.
I kind of want to put that out
And
there.
it's
I think that's a
relevant.
really good point.
It's relevant. There's a lot of stuff we could go into, especially this group, the great experience that we have.
Yeah, can I add to that? Or can I add to that? Yeah, well, I have to agree with Chris. I think it's a really slippery slope, particularly if there is no job description and you're going to talk about performance pay, or evaluations. I think we're opening us up and maybe this county to a lawsuit, because then you're starting to talk about very subjective analysis, and I think that's a dangerous area. If you had job descriptions, maybe that would be different, but no job descriptions, you can't have any performance evaluation. I don't know why.
There's another aspect to this that may be on the related but not in our purview that I dealt with at the legislature this last session, which is the different ways under New Mexico law that you can impeach, recall, remove someone from public office, elected public office, and it varies depending on the position. I won't get into the details of that. It had to do with the district attorney.
No, but fair enough. It's not just you might not get elected when you stand for re-election. You might get recalled. Yeah.
If your position is subject, whatever portion of New Mexico law your position is subject to, because it varies. I mean, I don't know, impeachment, is that how you remove a county commissioner? I was looking at district attorney, and it was recall. It wasn't impeachment.
Yeah. And Mr. Chair, if I could add one thing to Valerie's task, just as I'm thinking about it. If when you look at the current county department head salaries, if you could also let us know how those were set, I think that might be helpful.
If there's a record.
If there's a record of how those numbers were arrived at.
That's a relatively simple question I can answer, so that helps give you some context now.
Yeah.
They were set when we did the market study compensation analysis approximately, I want to say 4 years ago. And so we created, to Ms. Liswood's comment, we created ranges and steps. And it's based on the minimum qualifications and how an applicant exceeds the minimum qualifications for their position. Department directors, on the whole, require a bachelor's degree and at least 8 years of progressive experience in their particular field with 3 years of supervisory experience. That's kind of the bare bone minimum. And then
you just looked at like what the market sets that
yes,
kind
and we
of
are currently in
experience
market
at.
study right now. So every other year, we do market study for county employees, and the next year, we do cost of living increases. We are in the market study phase right now, so we alternate.
Are you going to complete that in the next couple of weeks?
December, I am hoping to, by mid-December, have my answers. So we are going to be probably very close to neck and neck.
Okay. And I'm guessing this recommendation doesn't need to be a 100-page brief kind of thing with the whole history, because the commissioners know the history, right? When they're going to be deciding based on our
History
of salaries, the ones we're talking about.
And so, and
I
maybe
don't
this is
know,
a,
most of the older ones, I mean, most of the longer-term ones, but the newest ones have only been in 2 years. I don't know how much
Yeah.
past history they know, but I'm not sure it
Okay.
matters.
and this is probably a question for Walker, and this is, I'm not making a suggestion to be clear, but it's a question is, do we have to propose salary numbers, or can we propose something like the full-time elected officials get paid the average of the department head salary, or any other metric? Like, can we give some index as opposed to giving a number?
Chair and Chris, thank you for asking that. I mean, one thing I'll say is that certainly the issue you've asked me to research, which I will do and hope to have some work product for you all by your next meeting, vis-a-vis, how much the board could adopt a variable salary will bear on this, right? So if we've already seen that there's a statute that allows for the assessor to receive increased salary based on certifications held. I think you could also talk about whether salaries can be increased to take into account cost of living adjustments that are given to county employees. So certainly I will have some answers. I'll try and have some work product that will help you all, be a little bit more informed on that question. In terms of what the commissioner's expectations are, I do believe they are going to want to have some firm numbers. Now, those firm numbers could just be an incorporation by reference along the lines that you're suggesting, Chris, like 3/4 of some objectively identified some salary number. I mean, and that may take care of the kind of the issue I see about giving discretion to non-elected officials to raise or decrease salaries, right? Because if you talk about the kind of performance-based increases or decreases for that matter, who decides whether those are met, right? That's the other question that you would face. So putting this long story short, I think the commission is expecting some definite suggestions, not just a rubric or something to guide their decision making. They do want to have a firm set of suggestions from you all. Does that mean you have to give them a set of suggestions by the end of this month? Not necessarily. I mean, I think you all could reasonably decide we don't have enough time, we need more time, so let's just recommend that things stay the same until we've had 2 years to study this. But certainly they're going to want specific numbers from you all, and they're probably going to want to have a presentation from the chair or someone else as to how you all reach these numbers, because I don't think that they are going to be coming to this with the same level of knowledge that you all will have by the end of these 3 meetings.
Thank you, Walker. I appreciate that. Yeah, it just kind of struck me as like maybe we come to the decision that the closest analog to county assessors simply being a department head at the county, and then like we could set that at what they get paid now, and then well, I guess you're going to finish a study. That doesn't mean they all get an immediate raise, though, right? Okay, fair enough.
Especially the ones that, if we recommend an increase, the ones that are voting for it can't receive it until they start a second term, another term.
Walker brought up an interesting thing. There are the rules that the state lays down, even though it's been put back to the counties to set salary levels. The elected can only get it at the beginning of a new term.
Well, it's because it's in the New Mexico Constitution.
So,
And Walker, my understanding is that Article 4, Section 27 of the New Mexico Constitution about no increase or decrease during your term applies to all elected officials, not just state legislators or statewide electeds. I mean, I have it here, but
I'm asking, Walter,
Chair,
because-
sorry, go ahead, Commissioner Hamilton.
Oh, I was asking because you had mentioned something about when you were answering about doing a rubric, you said, you know, you mentioned COLAs. So can all the electeds get the COLAs that the rest of the county gets, or is it prohibited by state law?
Chair and Commissioner Hamilton, I think that the salary would need to be set at the beginning of the term. I believe so. For example, with the assessor, a salary could be X plus whatever increases are allowed by statute based on certifications held. And so, if the assessor later obtains the certification, I don't think that the assessor would be prohibited from receiving an increase because it's part of their salary. The salary is, consists of X plus whatever, is provided for by statute, assuming they obtain the right certifications. And so I think you could make a similar argument with respect to cost of living adjustments. You could say the salary for the county clerk is X plus any cost of living adjustment that is adopted for county classified employees during the term of office. And I think that would likely, that would likely pass muster. There's not a lot of case law on this, and so I think there is some room for maneuver.
yeah, it's the favorite lawyer answer. It depends, and who it would apply to, and there isn't a whole lot of. There is some, I guess, case law in Article 4, Section 27 talks about except as otherwise provided by the Constitution. Would that cover a statute like the additional compensation that the assessors can get? It's in statute, it's not in the Constitution. It didn't go through that process. But I think when we get to the point of making recommendations, then I think obviously we need to make sure that they comply with applicable law. There was one thing I want to say before we end, which is just a reminder about the rolling quorum prohibition. That three of us can't get together for coffee after this and talk about anything that we've discussed here. That's called a rolling quorum, and it's of course prohibited by the Open Meetings Act. There's another aspect to this, and I don't have any place on the agenda. We talked about recall and impeachment. But there's another thing that may or may not be part of our jurisdiction, if you will, our scope of work. And I know that I've heard of it happening, that the deputy, of course, is usually paid more than the elected. And there's the, I'm going to call it the revolving door. Gus is the assessor, I'm his deputy. We have a gentleman's agreement that when Gus's term ends and I'm elected, I'm going to appoint you as my deputy, and then 4 years later or 8 years later, we switch that. I don't know if that's part of what we're doing. It's not setting a salary. It is an HR practice, perhaps. That may or may not be something that the commission would want to look at.
It may be gaming the system. I mean, I wouldn't even know what kind of information I would want to hear to be able to address that.
Well, and one of the things
But-
I asked was, what the salary of the chief
That,
deputy
I was
was.
just going to say,
Yeah,
that's
that's a
why
great
I think
point.
that's
That's a
such
great point.
important information.
Yeah.
Let's take a
Because
look at
then you can, like, is it, like when the treasurer's salary, when I started, was closer to like 75, and oh my God, yes, there were a bunch of people making more money than the certain electeds, or,
Yeah. Anyway,
So it's
I
good.
just want to put it out there, something that in our spare time we could look at. But I'm ready for a motion to adjourn unless there's anything else anybody wants to. And you're still awake? It's late for you, I know. I'm not looking at you, Walker. It's early for you. Laura, anything else you'd like to add before we adjourn? Can you hear us?
There we go. Yep, I'm still here.
Good. All right, we're about to adjourn unless there's something else that you'd like to add, and we'll welcome you back. Safe travel home, seeing you in person, hopefully at one of our next meeting or a meeting after. But thank you very much for staying up late Walker, thank you for joining
Thank you.
us virtually, and thank all the staff for their hard work. And
Move to
everybody
adjourn.
here, of course. I will accept a motion to adjourn. Is there a?
Move to adjourn?
Absolutely. Second.
I will second it.
All in favor of motion to adjourn signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Everyone voted to adjourn, and we will see you next Friday. Thanks, everyone.